Well, of course, it is Rockin' Larry Lockin'. You're tuned into the Larry Lockin' 3 channel, the Arcturian Crystal Blue Angels / YouTube. And we'd like to welcome in Instagram as well. We've got Instagram and we've got YouTube here on the same broadcast. Boy, I had an interesting channeling earlier, of course, with the 13th Dimensional Arcturian Crystal Blue Angels. I had my second ever channeling with the new collective from the Purple Energies, the 14th Dimensional Amethyst Angels from Arcturus. They're a little more blunt. They're a little different, but they're still Arcturian energy, just kind of a little oomph to them. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to hear what they have to say. It's only about 15 minutes long, but it's packed full of information. It was, my head's still swimming from channeling it. So without further ado, this is a heart-to-heart talk from them, channeled by, of course, yours truly, Larry Lockin'.
Greetings to your souls. We love you so much. This is our second transmission to you. We want to start off by showing much love to our sisters and the other two collectives in immediate star family. I'm talking about the Arcturian translucent color realms out of the 12th dimension, and our sister is the Arcturian crystal blue angels in the 13th. We are the 14th dimensional amethyst angels. And we'd like to have a little bit of a heart-to-heart talk with you today about a few issues. We're so proud of you. Let me start by saying that Dear Souls has crystalline codes, has rainbow codes, light codes, and codes from various star systems, including ours, of course, Arcturus. Flood your planet. This is leading you into transferring into a most magnificent time. This time marks a long-awaited milestone in humanity's journey. This is catapulted into a global awakening like never seen before all across the world. Starseeds, light workers, spiritual beings are consciously absorbing these new light codes, these rainbow codes, these diamond codes, these symbol codes that are coming in from the cosmos to your souls. That is our gift to you. That is one of our gifts to you, dear ones, for doing such a great job, despite all the circumstances you've hung in there. You fought through it. You stayed tough when the going got tough. You hunkered down and you anchored that light even more, whether you knew you were doing it or not. And for the first time, in a long time, dear souls, and a lot of your earth years, too many to mention, the tables are starting to turn. Light is flooding. Light is flooding from everywhere in the cosmos, onto your plane. Everything is being turned around and put in the way, shall we say, that it was always supposed to be. You were never supposed to have scarcity, dear souls. It was never supposed to happen. Your infinite creator beings. Keep spreading the love and keep spreading the light. Spiral your love and spiral the light, just like Alcyone of the Pleiades, one of the 7 sisters. Don't make the same mistake creator gods have done in the past and forget to spread that love and spread the light. Because when that light doesn't keep going and keep shining, things get darker and things get denser. And that leads into more of a physical realm where you're bogged down by all kinds of distractions and feelings that are not your own. Dear souls, you have come here from all over the galaxy, places, names of places that you haven't even been introduced to, but of course the regular ones. In your galaxy, Pleiades, Sirius, Procyon, parts of Orion, Pleiades, Arcturus, and even Andromeda, which is the galaxy next to us. Through all of these steps, through all these collective and individual shifts, you have started to finally see some of the work start to pay off. It's a slow process to your souls. The results were not seen immediately, and there's still a ton yet to come. It really hasn't even started yet. You are a silent warrior, behind the scenes anchoring the light. Hold that light. Transmute your density. Focus your energies on anchoring the light. Remember, anchor the light to your souls at all costs. This period that you're in is something you won't understand right now because you're going through it. But when it's looked back upon in other lifetimes, when you're at full remembrance, whether you're in the cosmos ascended, you will look back on it with fondness. You won't look back on it like You did Atlantis and Lemurius, some of you, with disappointment and hurt because you tried everything you could to stop that war from happening. It destroyed the planet during that incarnation. But not this time. This time, it's not happening. You're not going to let it happen. Become hell or high water. So, you would say on your plane, you're not going to let that happen. Dear souls, we want to tell you a story about a young galaxy, a group of 1,000 young galaxies, in a universe that was really, really in its infinity. There was 2 special galaxies chosen out of those. They were chosen to be sort of the leaders, sort of the forefront, the forebearers, you might say. Those 2 galaxies were the Milky Way and Andromeda. 2 races were seeded by the same family. This was a big, huge collective of several different races, several different families, but the family bloodline seeded both these 2 main planets of the galaxy that they were in at the time. One you know of is Andromeda, its twin. Its other experiment you know is Arcturus, as the Arcturian star system. Each one of them had a main planet and still do. It's just that they can travel around in it like a biodome now, so it's not always noticeable in their star system. It moves around, all over the cosmos. When you think of what Nibiru actually was, that is what Andromeda and Arcturus are. They are the same, dear souls, and if you notice, there's not much difference between them. Maybe a little bit. What little difference is? It's really unexplainable. In a few words, not to mention, they did grow up separate from each other. They were 2 races that ascended without knowing that they were related to each other. So, there's that, dear souls. They both figured it out on their own, but because of their same lineage, you can tell. Dear souls are totally related to each other. What would you might say on your plane? Geography. It's just a geographical difference. What differences lie between them? But yes, the Andromedans and the Arcturians, your souls, for what it's worth, are the same exact cosmic bloodline. Now, there are different races in their star systems, of course, but we're talking about the main race, the most populated one that was first seeded in both the respective galaxies, which was at the same time. It was shortly there. After that, the Larians were seeded, but that's another story. We want to tell you a little bit about a misconception you have about some characters that have always plagued your society. Well, one of them anyway. Let's talk about Satan, Lucifer. Let's talk about Archangel Michael. Metatron will be in here too, once upon a time. Lucifer was a great captain. He was a great captain in Arcturus Air Service, so much so that he was put in charge of the Earth mission 1 billion years ago. On your term and your terms, dear ones, 1 billion years ago. 900 million before the Pleiadians came here the first time. It was several incarnations of Earth ago with an advanced society. Lucifer was put in charge of overseeing the population grow and the population mature on their own. We'd heard grumblings that Lucifer was acting really, really egotistical. It's starting to get arrogant and full of himself. And he was experimenting on the inhabitants of that planet with DNA, manipulations, using our technology for the wrong reasons. He was getting worse and worse about getting back to us if we would try to contact him, dear souls. He would return the call home, shall we say. Well, we had to make a decision. It was his doing. We decided to replace him. The gentleman, his Archangel Michael was an admiral. He was a couple ranks above Lucifer, but they were close in rank and had served together for eons. They really weren't friendly with each other. They were cordial. That's about it. So Lucifer was going to be replaced. So the Arcturian ship came down with Michael, and, of course, his ace Metatron told Lucifer his days with the command were over. Lucifer and Michael had a standoff with each other, and it almost came to blows. Michael had it. Lucifer had told him, in essence, in your terms, your souls, Lucifer had told Archangel Michael that all you've done your whole career is just kiss up the council and the elders. And Michael had it and said, you know what? I'm tired of having to play this phony game and be cordial with you. Let's just do this right here now. Well, it was about to come to blows. Lucifer Lucifer decided he didn't want to even go there. He tucked his tail between his legs and took off now. It was a big to-do because Michael had to come down, a couple ranks come down there and settle this, and take over for a while until they could relieve him now. Lucifer took 30% of the military with him. He took 30%. They had the key. They had the top Arcturian soldiers down there for this mission, some of the top ones. And 30% of them defected with Lucifer. So, because of his arrogance and ego, and wanting to do things his own way, and not being a team player, then you have souls that are like that in a good way, though. Like Metatron, Archangel Michael's best friend, by the way. Through their years growing up at the academy, when they were younger, he's a rebel for the right reasons. He bucks the system when he sees some injustice. Lucifer is a being that is out for himself. It's an ego trip with him. That's just the way it is. It's not a judgment thing on him. It's an ego trip. He was thinking about his own whims and wants. He's sort of like, if you don't want to call him good or bad, which we don't like those labels to your souls. We don't like those labels at all. You might call him something that rhymes with crash car. The crashed car command, you might say. That being, not necessarily completely dark, but egotistical, very egotistical in the way he talks. Belittling. He tends to like followers that are into him, like he's something special, which any true guide would never make. You would never want. They would do everything they could. Dear souls, they would do everything they could to make you not look at them like they were something special. But they think you're something special because you are? And they are. It's just that you don't want to give your power away, and it gets easier to do when somebody is more of an unascended level than you might be, or you might think you are. So Lucifer didn't want to play ball. He was given several chances. He was promoted a lot, the Arcturians. The council was good to him. He decided to try to play with the DNA. Michael had warned the command for years about Lucifer's renegade type of behavior. Metatron as well. Metatron's a cool rebel. So, you would say Lucifer. He's a coward. At the occurring amethyst crystals, we do not say those words lightly. But we are showing this to highlight a difference. It's one thing to go against the system, cuz it really does need change, and you want to change, and you think you could, and it's another thing to go against it out of ego. Out of your own ego when you really have no plan. You're just being a jerk because it's the easiest thing to do, not the way it's done. Dear souls, it's not the way things are changed. Just like you don't like to be bullied by a government or by any kind of a leadership. You're not going to get anywhere with any kind of a leadership by being a bully. You have to think about what others are feeling way before you think about yourself, your souls. You have to put everybody above yourself, 80% of the time, and then a solid 20% of the time. You really need to focus on yourself to rejuvenate, to take care of your body. It's about a balance. Gear ones, but that is the history of how it went down of this biblical myth that you have read. There is heaven, dear souls. Heaven is in the stars. There is no place, heaven. There's a higher dimensional place where things are beautiful like that, which is most places that are in a higher vibration than your planet is right now. Dear souls, and your planet is getting there. Mother Gaia is ascending. But these stories, these half-truths that you hear, these myths, half-missed, half-legendary truths, these are space conflicts. These are outer space conflicts. These are not fights on some realm in the heavens, this outer space. Another planet in the cosmos. That's what it is. Words mean a lot to your souls, and when you put it into a mythical terms like that, it sounds you're defeating your purpose. If you want people to try to see it your way when you use such terms like that, like heaven and Lucifer and even Jesus, you're bringing up old irrelevant issues. It's your time now. Dear souls, it's your time. Yes, the Christ consciousness is wonderful. The teachings of Buddha are beautiful, of course. You never forget those who paved the way and those words. But it's your time now. Dear souls, none of those things matter now. Whether it's your Viking gods in your history, whether it's Toth or Moth or even Roth. Okay, none of those things matter anymore, as far as you moving forward goes. It's nice to practice some of the teachings, but it's really all of that stuff is irrelevant completely going forward. It's a new day. It's the golden age, yes, but it's the rainbow and the blue age, really. Things change, things get more advanced. You're living this in real time, dear ones. We love you so much. You might notice a little bit more of an attitude in us, though, than the other sisters in the 13th and 12th under ours in the 14th. We're just telling you straight how it is, dear soul, everything that we have told you. And this transmission cannot be disputed. It can be. One can have an opinion, but see, there's everybody's truth, dear souls. And then there's the true truths. We have done nothing but tell you the true truths. Andromeda and Arcturus. Andromeda and Arcturist. Absolutely. Same seed. What we told you about the story. What is true about the whole Lucifer. We told you it was 30% of the military he took with him. Billion years ago or so, your time. When settling Earth, we were the first ones to try to settle Earth. Dear souls. And then about 900 million years or so later, the Pleiadians took a crack at it for the first time, the first of a few attempts. And another race is, and yes, there were wars and skirmishes that came of it, in space, not in the heavens. The heavens is a term for outer space. These terms are important to remember. It's important to start focusing on, how do we say this, dear souls, modernizing, the way you describe things. Your souls. If you're still into things like mythical characters from these books, from these religious texts, you might as well be reading one of your comic books to your souls. It does. It serves you no purpose. Names like Hail and Lucifer and Lilith and Toth and it does you no good? As far as Buddha and Jesus go, their teachings. That's what they wanted. All they wanted was for you to absorb their teachings. It's good advice. Don't get hung up on who they were as a person, because they were flesh and blood human beings like you. So, admire the work. Admire the person, but don't look at the person like they're anything more than you are on your worst day. Because we are all one, dear ones. But we had to tell you this message, dear souls. And that's the way it is. We love you very much. We are the Arcturian Amethyst Angels, out of the 14th dimension, and that was our heart-to-heart with you. Channeled by Larry Lofton.
That's Larry Lofton. Hey, guys, get it right. Come on. Holy. Okay. All right. Well, now we're off Instagram. Yeah. Well, no, we're not. Hi, Instagram. Oh, yeah, we are. Yeah, and so that's, well, there you have it, sports fans, cosmic sports fans. I don't have anything to say. I'm usually never short on words, but there you have it. That's it. That's how it is, I guess. Okay. Yep. I always kind of figured it was something like that, but yeah, it's true though. Time to move on. Time to quit thinking about all these old characters like there's something mythical and magical, because magic is a bunch of bullshit. First of all, let me tell you something. Magic is the simplest thing to ever explain in the universe. Oh, it's real. Oh, don't get me wrong. Oh, it's real. Oh, it's real. Oh, let me tell you what it is, though. I say it all the time because it's important. Take the mystique out and get rid of that stupid-ass mystique. It's either one or two things, no matter what. Could never be anything else. You're either looking at technology. When you see real magic, you're either looking at technology that you don't understand that's being used to create that, like having a cell phone or a laptop in the 1950s somewhere, okay? Same thing. It's either that, or you're dealing with an ascended race that's even more ascended than that race that created that gadget. You're dealing with a race that is really proficient in levitation, telepathy, their own forms of telekinesis, sleight of hand, things like that, freeze frame control. That's all you're looking at. You're looking at a being that can do that, that can either perform that, or more than likely what you're seeing is you're seeing a gadget used that was developed through consciousness in a society that was able to handle a tool like that. Nobody went hocus pocus alamagocus. I mean, they made it, they probably did just to be funny. That's how spirits are. They probably did. They probably had a little routine where when they created their thing with their gadget, they said hocus pocus alamagocus, or, something, and, did a little jig and a shake and As my Uncle Will used to say, a hand jig and a knob job and keep poking, token, smoking, and boogieing on down that cosmic highway. Yeah. So that's all it is. And it's funny, magic, the most mythical thing to most people, yet it's probably the one thing anywhere in the entire existence, no matter where it was or who it was, it could only be one of two things ever. It could only be a gadget that's technologically advanced that's creating it, or a race that is ascended enough to, use levitation and things of that nature. Probably a combination of both sometimes. So yeah, that's it. I mean, there's an explanation for everything. Things just didn't go bada boom, bada bing, bada bang, and it was created. These things had to be built, just like houses do. These planets had to be terraformed and built, like artificial intelligence. Had to be built, people. Just like when you see these nebulas all throughout the galaxy, those things are creation manifestation centers. That's all they are. When they're not busy building constellations and building stars, the beings in there they're cleaning up stars and putting them back out in the sky. I mean, hey, man, you don't have the time. You want to build your own constellation. Maybe you want to just rearrange the stars in your constellation. Well, come on down today. Come on down to your local nebula, your local creation manifestation center. They're waiting for you today. They're waiting to hear from you. Maybe you just want to spruce the place up a little, add a couple more stars, another sun. Well, hey, they've got you there. You want to create your own whole new galaxy or expand your galaxy into a universe? Oh, they've got you covered there too. Yeah, so come on down today. Visit your folks at the friendly Creation Manifestation Center, the Nebula. And that's what they are. Things are a process with everything. It's not a thought, just thought, and it happens. Yet again, then it is too. But then again, it is too. The Pleiadians even, they're not the most highest ascended race, but they're pretty high up there. They can sit and travel, sit on their couch at home and travel in their mind, astral travel all throughout the cosmos. Check out what's going on here. Check out what's going on there, right? Yeah, they can do that. But it's a whole nother thing to, a structure like a planet, stars. Those things are built. Everything was AI, people. Everything was artificially created. Nothing just went boom and it was there, except for it wasn't the existence, because the existence never was not there. These things are built. Planet, biodome, what's the big fucking deal? It's the same thing. Same thing. It reminds me of two of the greatest writers in this field of all time. The two biggest legends. Zecharia Sitchin of the 12th Planet, and Eric von Däniken, A Chariot to the Gods, and All of the Gods. I've got every single one of von Däniken's books. I like Sitchin too, but yeah, his books are torture to read. I'd rather listen to them on audio. Their thing was with Nibiru Sitchin did all the research, but von Däniken's like, man, you got it right, but that Nibiru is not a planet on an elliptical orbit, man. That's a biodome that travels through space. And I heard him that he said that. I'm like, yeah, no shit. That's what I always thought too. That Sitchin had wrong. The one part of it he had wrong, and it's true. So I guess that they would meet once in a while. They were really great friends, and that's what they would get into an argument about after about a half a bottle of scotch each, and at 3:00 in the morning, they've agreed on the rest of the Nibiru story, but they're going to argue about no, it was a biodome. No, it was a planet on an elliptical orbit. It was Yeah, and the thing is too, is it doesn't really matter whether it was a planet or a biodome, because that's the same fucking thing exactly. Just when it was built. But the elliptical orbit, a race that evolved as they were supposed to be, they wouldn't be stuck on an elliptical orbit like that. They would be able to move throughout time and space. So, yeah, but Sitchin, they say Sitchin got about 80% of that correct, the tablets. That all that hard work, he did about 80%, and that's really great. They needed a methodical thinker like him, to be able to dissect those, because let me tell you something, somebody with a really, really open mind, though, yeah, they may have got the other 20%, but they wouldn't have figured out the 80% that Sitchin did through his, meticulousness and his thoroughness, right? It's just that because his mind was kind of, he wasn't the, the biggest life of the party kind of a guy, so he just very methodical, like an accountant kind of, kind of like you'd want a good accountant to be. What would have been really great is if Charles Darwin and Sitchin could have hooked up and listened to each other. Between the two of them, they probably could have had it figured out if they were both the type to listen to the other. You know what I mean? Sitchin probably solidly had 20% of the other part that Darwin was missing. Darwin was missing the fact that, half a dozen to a dozen times in the trillions of year history of humans really on Earth, it's been evolution, but there's been a couple dozen times probably where we've had our DNA upgraded, right? So that's kind of creationism a little bit. We've had our DNA seeded to evolve through seeds being flown in through the beings down onto our planet, and codes and these light codes now and all that, right? Glitter, gold, diamond, rainbow, you name it. So it goes hand in hand, creationism and evolution. Now, Darwin's mostly right, but there's that 20% he was wrong about, and it's a big ass 20% to not know. There's the whole ballgame right there, right? So humans, what the Pleiadians have told me, and that's kind of been my own deduction too, is that if it wasn't for the star systems helping us out and seeding us, every so often throughout the millennia, we'd still get where we were going to go, but it would take they think it'd take about another trillion years or so before we were as evolved as we are now. I mean, just through primordial mixing, and it would still be an iffy proposition at that, right? That it would be able to maintain that long and evolve to that point with that much illusionary time passing by. It's about 1 trillion years more. But because we've had these upgrades along the way, and it kills me that both, people that are for one side or the other, creationism or evolution, it kills me that they're so stuck in their mindset. Creationism people are really stuck in this mold of everything is just creation. It was all created. It's funny because on one hand, I have a problem with them more, but I really don't as far as that theory goes. What I really have a problem with is people, and I'm more of an evolutionary guy too, but when these people that are into evolution, they're stuck like a science, like a computer, just thinking that one thought of, no, there couldn't have been God. No, that's a bunch of mumbo jumbo. The extraterrestrials could have upgraded us, right? Oh, what a bunch of mumbo jumbo. So they're stuck with the wisdom and the technology, but they don't have the spirituality. The spiritual people have some of the spirituality, but they're completely ignorant to the technological side of it, right? And which means they're not really that spiritual either, because when you're really, really, really spiritual, actually, your spiritualness helps you develop technologies, right? And, cleaner ways of doing things, cleaner products, better technologies that aren't as harmful to the environment you're around, technology through caring, not just dirty technology. Like when Earth governments try to reverse engineer alien equipment, they've got some of the brains or close to the brains enough to figure it out with some of these people, but they don't have the consciousness to really figure it out completely. So it's dirty. Technology is dirty when it gets in their hands. It doesn't work the right way. You got to have them both. You got to have that balance. I'm always saying that too. And the Pleiadians always too. That's why their technology is so high. That's why they have food replicators that are better than any kind of natural food you could eat on Earth. They've evolved to that point, right? Through consciousness, they built these things where they have the DNA perfected better than their real grown stuff. They have virtual reality rooms where you can walk into our reality. You go next door and go to Tahiti for the weekend. Walk next door, in your house. And people, it's not the same. Yeah, it is the same fucking thing. It's the same fucking thing. Exactly. Same exact thing. It's, either you're in this room doing it or in that room doing it. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. Technology evolves to that point, and like with med beds, right? Med beds. There's another hot topic. Yeah, they are definitely, it's a no-brainer. Anybody that, even if you didn't believe in extraterrestrials, it's a no-brainer to understand that eventually that's what would happen. With the right society that had their head screwed on straight and cared about people Yeah, eventually that would be the technology we would have. It's just inevitable, right? Completely inevitable. So, but I wouldn't get caught. I'd be real careful about thinking this is something that the extraterrestrials are just going to bring and drop off from a spacecraft to us. It's not really how they roll, yo. You know what I mean? They do give us technology, but it's in a little bit more discreet ways. And our paradigm right now doesn't really allow for that kind of thing anyway. We're kind of a pro being sick kind of a society as a planet. You know what I mean? Death is a big business. Sickness is a big business. We all know that. I'm not telling anybody anything surprising. I hope not anywhere. You've been probably in a coma for 30 years. But I wouldn't look for, and I'm sure some elites probably already have some shit like that. Who knows? We could debate that. Who knows? They may not. It doesn't even matter really. But they're not going to want that on a mass scale yet. The consciousness is changing, but we only have right now in the moment that we're in at this moment. That's all we have. That's all we have. We don't know. We know that eventually, what's going to take over the internet, and it should have been how the internet was done in the first place, quantum computing. Well, hey, the Galactic Federation of Light Channelers weren't the first people saying it. I've been talking about that shit for a long time. Really. I mean, quantum learning, more so than that shit, quantum learning, quantum education. I'm talking about, 60-second little quick classes of staring into a plasma mix with maybe no words or just one word on it. One word, and that one word will tell a story in this, plasma ball that looks like a Merkaba. It looks like a chakra system where chakra systems have expanded out to the side of each chakra to fully then encompass the body and the body around that, making a complete multidimensional self. Not too bad. I haven't had any LSD and it'll be 30 years, August 1st when I turn 50. So that's a pretty good thought from no acid in my head, right? I'm kidding. But these plasma things are awesome. This lady I know, really great lady on Facebook, Lynn Andrews. She's wonderful. Visionary Art HQ. Yeah, Visionary Art HQ. Facebook, Instagram. Yeah, 12 Wonders, I believe, is her TikTok channel too. Oh, great stuff. 60-second little classes. That's all it takes, and for somebody who don't like to do that shit like me, it's kind of nice to do a quick 60-second attunement and hear the vibrational sound and the twinging and the twanging and the clinking and the clanking. Yeah, I love wind chimes as long as they're not outside of my window at about 2 a.m. when I'm trying to go to sleep, you know what I mean? And the wind's blowing. Other than that, I think they're wonderful. I just don't like them clanking, when I've got a headache and I'm laying in bed. Other than that, they're lovely. They're lovely creatures and lovely sounding things. They really, really are. It's just in, that one scenario, they can go away for the weekend. But, yeah, I'm weird like that, though. I've got autism. It's just like I love hearing birds. I love hearing the sound of birds chirp in nature and stuff. But what I don't really like is if I'm listening to a meditation, I love listening to rain. I love listening to solid rain. What I don't like, though, is when birds start chirping and shit in it and it's artificial. If it's outside, I think it's wonderful and I can hang with it all day and night. But, yeah, I can't deal with it when it's on a meditation. A little bit of thunder sometimes, but I don't really like it deviating. Like a nice solid rain. Rain on a tent. Rain on a tent is awesome. Rain on a tent is so cozy. I was dreamed about going camping. It was raining. I've only been in a situation once in my life, and it was weird. It was during the summer. My son, I was a Boy Scout master or, assistant master, den, whatever the fuck it was. And he was getting his arrow of light that weekend. And, yeah, we, had a little tent we shared together and it started pouring down rain. Yeah, and I was weird because I don't know why we set up the tent. Him and I were a couple of dingbats. We set up the tent right, like basically on the walkway where everybody had to come back from the big mess hall area over to where the, camping quarters were. So it was raining and slushy and pouring down rain. It was just kind of cool. We were sitting there talking, listening to it. I think I had a transistor radio with Coast to Coast AM on. It was like 2000 and, it was like 2011. you know, and, you know, these kids were walking by all loud, and one of them fell into the tent even. Yeah, it was quite the adventure. But, yeah. Anyway, so that's how it is. I always figured those two races were related. I think that's kind of apparent that we're all related. But I mean, as far as Arcturus and Andromeda being the same, I mean, I'm not. Look, the thing quacks like a duck, and it floats on the pond like a duck, and it's moving around like a duck. The colors, it looks like a duck. I ain't saying it's a duck, though, Yeah, that's kind of about how. And really, it doesn't matter. No, it doesn't even matter. Who cares? Who cares if they are or they aren't? But I mean, it's a whole hell of a lot more logical to believe they are than they're not. But anyway, all right, that has been Rockin' Larry Lockin', and I am out E5000. All right, let me get out of here. Nothing close out of here. Fuck, come on. Well, YouTube, you'll get this broadcast because I closed out Instagram a long motherfucking time ago. All right. Oh, yeah, in stream. Yeah, thanks, Andromedans. Arcturians, same thing. Yes. Don't be a cheapskate. Please donate. Oh, that's a good rhyme, dude. Yeah, thanks.